Okay, I think that's everything for my slide. Please speak now, Steve.
Whoa, please speak now? That makes me feel like I'm in a strict courtroom.
Wait, is that wrong? I just wanted to give you the virtual floor.
It sounds super aggressive. We usually say something much softer like, I'll hand it over to Steve.
If you've ever felt totally awkward trying to manage the flow of a Zoom call, that's exactly what we're fixing today.
By the way, welcome to Steve and Abby English. I'm Steve.
And I'm Abby.
And hey, if today's topic has a lot of fast back and forth, grab the free transcript in the description. Reading along while you listen is honestly one of the fastest ways to lock in these phrases.
I highly recommend doing that, especially for work conversations.
So true. Virtual meetings are tough enough in your first language. You sit there, staring at your camera, hoping your internet doesn't freeze. When you're operating in English, all those little transition moments, like unmuting yourself to gently interrupt or figuring out how to politely finish a long call, can feel incredibly stressful.
Oh, completely. You're just staring at all these tiny faces on your screen, praying you don't say the wrong thing or talk over your boss. And it's so easy to fall back on really heavy textbook words because you want to sound smart. But honestly, native speakers don't talk like that at work. We use much softer, casual phrases to keep the conversation flowing naturally without sounding like a robot.
Exactly. And I think a lot of learners worry they're going to sound rude if they use simple vocabulary. It might feel challenging at first to drop those formal words, but that's completely normal. Don't be hard on yourself. Muscle memory takes time. Just picking up a few everyday phrases makes a massive difference in how confident you feel.
Muscle memory really does take time. I know I still mess up meeting etiquette all the time, even though I've been working remotely for years now. It's just so easy to lose your train of thought when 3 people start speaking at the exact same time.
Virtual meetings are basically just navigating awkward silences while trying to guess if someone else is about to speak. It's a completely different communication skill set. You really have to learn how to read the room when you aren't actually sitting in the same room with people.
It really is an art form. You want to sound polite and approachable, but you also need to stay in control of your own updates so people actually listen to you.
Definitely. Managing that tricky balance is exactly what we're going to look at today.
All right, let's get into our first real talk. This one is actually from a pretty sweaty situation I dealt with in my weekly check-in just last Tuesday. So picture this. It was Tuesday morning, right around 9 o'clock. I was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking way too much black coffee, and trying to wake up for our big weekly team check-in. The sky was super gray outside, and I was just not feeling energetic at all.
Classic Tuesday morning energy.
Exactly. Anyway, our manager was rushing through the agenda because we only had 30 minutes for about 10 people. We were supposed to just go over the weekly tasks and give super quick status updates. Everyone was talking so fast, clicking through slides, and I was just quietly taking notes in the background.
Wait, I do the exact same thing. When everyone else is talking super fast, I usually just mute my microphone, shrink the window, and pray nobody calls my name directly.
Yes! Being muted feels like a safe little protective bubble. You can just sip your coffee in peace. But then, as I was looking at my own spreadsheet, my stomach just completely dropped. I suddenly realized that our biggest design project was heavily delayed, and I'd completely forgotten to add the update to the official meeting agenda.
Oh no, that's a terrible feeling.
It was awful. The client had emailed me late Monday night asking for huge changes, and I just missed it in my inbox. So my manager is moving on to the next topic, and I'm sitting there panicking. I knew if I didn't say something right then, it would look like I was trying to hide the delay from the whole team.
Major damage control mode.
Completely. But interrupting a fast-paced virtual meeting is so tricky. You don't want to sound bossy or rude, but you also can't just stay quiet. I was physically hovering my finger over the spacebar, just staring at the screen, trying to find the perfect half-second of silence to jump in without cutting someone off.
I swear, finding the right moment to unmute yourself on a massive group call should be an actual Olympic sport. You always end up talking at the exact same time as somebody else.
Every single time. And of course, right when I finally pushed the button to speak, my dog started barking at the mail carrier in the background. It was just maximum chaos for a second. I panicked and spilled my coffee on my notebook.
Oh, that's the worst timing possible.
Right? I quickly muted again, wiped up the mess with my sleeve, threw a toy across the room to distract my dog, and then went for it a second time. I unmuted myself, took a deep breath, and immediately shared my screen so they could see the new timeline document. I figured having a clear visual would make the bad news a little easier to swallow for my boss.
Very smart move, actually.
Thanks. I tried to keep my tone super calm and casual. I said something like, "Hey team, sorry to interrupt, and I hate to bring up bad news right now, but we're definitely going to have to push the final deadline back by a few days."
How did your manager react to that?
Surprisingly well, actually. Because I shared the screen and showed the exact roadblock we were facing, she totally understood. We ended up having a really productive quick brainstorm right there. But honestly, my heart was beating so fast the whole time. I was so worried she'd think I was making up silly excuses.
It's so nerve-wracking to deliver bad news virtually. You can't read body language the same way you can in an actual office building.
Exactly. You're just looking at a tiny, pixelated video feed trying to guess if they're angry or just dealing with bad lighting. But it worked out in the end.
Hold on. Before we go any further, you just used some really great everyday work phrases there. Let's get into our first real talk breakdown. All right, let's take a closer look at a couple of those phrasal verbs you just used, because they're incredibly common in American workplaces. The first one is bring up. You said, "I hate to bring up bad news."
Yes, to bring something up just means to mention a topic or to start talking about something specific. But the emotional vibe of this phrase is really important.
Exactly. If you say something formal like, "I must discuss bad news," or "I need to introduce a negative topic," it instantly creates a very tense, scary atmosphere. People get defensive immediately.
Totally. Using the phrase bring up softens the blow. It feels so much more gentle and casual. It's a fantastic tool for English learners because it helps you deliver uncomfortable information without sounding aggressive or dramatic. It just naturally lowers the tension in the virtual room.
That makes a huge difference. Let's hear a few examples of how you might use this in a normal day. For instance, I might say, "I want to bring up the new marketing strategy before we run out of time today."
That sounds perfect. Another example could be, "I was really nervous to bring up my vacation request with my manager, but she was fine with it."
Awesome. Okay, the second phrase we need to look at is go over. When you were talking about your team meeting, you said everyone was supposed to just go over the weekly tasks.
Right. To go over something means to review it, to look at it carefully, or to read through it together. But again, it's all about the feeling behind the words.
For sure. If you tell a coworker, "We need to review your task list," or "examine your work," it can sound a bit like a harsh police interrogation. It feels like you're searching for mistakes.
Exactly. But when you say, let's go over the list, it sounds collaborative. It feels like you're sitting on the same side of the table, working together as a team. It's a very friendly, routine way to talk.
Here's how you might use it. You could say, let's go over the presentation slides one more time before the client joins the call.
Or you could say, do you have 5 minutes to go over the budget numbers with me? It's just so much more approachable.
I want to encourage you guys listening at home. It might feel challenging at first to replace heavy textbook words with these simple phrasal verbs, but that's completely normal. Don't be hard on yourself.
As you slowly use phrases like bring up and go over, you'll sound so much more human. Okay, now that we have those words down, let's look at the flip side in real talk too.
So, while you were struggling to get a word in, I was dealing with the exact opposite problem. Last Friday afternoon, I was hosting this massive quarterly marketing call. We had over 50 people joining from different time zones, from New York all the way to London, and I was in charge of the agenda.
Oh wow, big crowd. That's a lot of pressure.
Huge pressure. And you know exactly how Friday afternoon energy is. Everyone is completely drained, just looking at the clock, waiting to log off and decompress. I had invited an external guest speaker to talk about upcoming social media trends. At first, he was doing a genuinely great job. People were taking notes and asking great questions in the chat box.
That sounds like a solid setup. I love when guest speakers actually bring good energy to a long call. It makes a huge difference for the whole team when they're engaged.
It totally does. But about 20 minutes into his presentation, he just went completely off script. He started rambling about a random fishing trip he took over the summer. He stopped sharing his marketing slides and was literally showing us pictures of a lake, talking about the weather patterns, and explaining how to catch trout.
Oh my gosh, no way! You must have been dying inside.
I was absolutely dying. I was sitting there at my desk, watching the clock tick down, feeling my anxiety shoot up. We only had about 10 minutes left in the scheduled meeting, and our lead designer, Sarah, still needed to present the new logo designs to the company. That was literally the most important part of the call.
That's so incredibly stressful. Hosting a big call is terrible when you lose control of the schedule and people start rambling. What did you even do?
I was sweating through my shirt. I knew I had to step in and gently cut him off, but I didn't want to sound disrespectful in front of 50 coworkers. I tried turning my camera on, leaning close to the screen and nodding aggressively, hoping he'd see my face and naturally stop his story.
Ah, yes, the aggressive virtual nod. Classic move for a desperate host.
It didn't work at all. He wasn't even looking at his screen. He was completely lost in his own fishing memories. Finally, I realized I had to interrupt verbally before time ran out. I quickly turned my microphone on, sat up straight, cleared my throat, and waited for him to take a tiny breath.
The ultimate rescue mission. Good luck.
Exactly. The second he paused to breathe, I jumped right in with a big, fake, cheerful voice. I said, "Wow, that fishing trip sounds incredible. But looking at the time, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah for the design updates so we stay on track."
So smooth. What a great way to pivot.
It worked perfectly. He didn't seem offended at all, and he immediately muted his microphone. I just completely redirected the traffic without causing any drama. Sarah took the hint, rushed through her slides, and actually finished her presentation with exactly 1 minute to spare.
That's an absolute miracle.
It really was. Once she finished her last slide, I just jumped right back on the microphone to close things out. I said, "All right, everyone, let's wrap up the meeting right here so you can all go enjoy your weekend." People were dropping off the call so fast, it was hilarious to watch the numbers go down.
Honestly, ending a meeting early on a Friday makes you an absolute hero in the workplace. That's such a completely different vibe from my story. But wait, I heard you drop some really interesting phrases to manage that chaos. Time for our second Real Talk breakdown.
All right, let's look at 3 more everyday phrases you heard in that second story. The first one is decompress. I said that on a Friday afternoon, everyone is waiting to log off and decompress.
I love that word. To decompress simply means to relax and let go of all your stress after a really busy time. If you use a formal textbook phrase like, "I need to release my tension," you sound like a medical textbook. Saying decompress paints a much more relatable picture.
It really does. It shows that you are actively letting the pressure out. For example, after a long week of meetings, I usually decompress by taking a quiet walk around my neighborhood with my phone turned completely off.
That sounds so healthy. I usually decompress by falling asleep on my living room couch with a really terrible reality TV show playing in the background. It is way too much screen time, but it works for me.
Hey, whatever helps you relax. The second phrase we need to talk about is cut someone off. I mentioned that I had to gently cut him off when he was talking about his fishing trip.
Yes, to cut someone off means to interrupt them and stop them from speaking. The formal version would be something like, "I must stop his speech," which sounds super robotic. Cut off is what native speakers actually say in real life.
Exactly. You might say, I had to cut my brother off on the phone because he was complaining about his car for way too long, and I had to go to work.
Or you could say, "I was talking to my mom yesterday, and the bad internet connection just completely cut me off, right in the middle of a great story."
That happens way too often when I am visiting my parents. Okay, our third phrase today is wrap up. I told my team, let's wrap up the meeting right here.
To wrap up means to finish an activity or bring an event to an end. Saying, "Let us conclude the meeting," feels very stiff and cold. Wrap up feels warm and friendly.
You can use this for almost anything. I might tell my wife, I am just going to wrap up this email and then we can leave for the restaurant.
Or you could say, "I need to wrap up my grocery shopping before the store closes." It works perfectly in everyday life.
I know learning these colorful phrases might feel a little strange at first. You might worry you are using them wrong, but that is totally okay. Just take your time with it.
We have covered some great expressions today, but there are a few sneaky traps you need to watch out for. Let's jump into common mistakes and make sure you don't get them wrong.
Now let's talk about where people usually get this wrong. These are mistakes we hear all the time.
Yes! The first trap goes all the way back to the start of the episode. The trap is saying, "Please speak now," when you want someone else to talk on a virtual call.
The fix for this is saying, I will hand it over to you.
Exactly. Why do we fix this? Because telling someone to speak now sounds like an angry teacher or a judge. Handing it over sounds like you are kindly passing a gift to a friend.
Such a good point. Okay, trap number 2 involves the phrase, bring up. The mistake is saying, I want to bring up you to the meeting.
Oh, I hear that one a lot. The fix is, I want to bring up the topic at the meeting.
Right, and the why is simple. You bring up a subject or an idea. You do not bring up a person, unless you are physically carrying a baby up the stairs.
That would be a very different meeting. All right, the third trap is with the phrase, go over. People often say, let's go over to the document.
The fix is just dropping that extra word. You simply say, let's go over the document.
Spot on. The why here is that adding the word to changes the meaning. Going over to something means physically walking toward it. Going over something means reviewing it.
Great breakdown. Let's do a rapid review. Don't say please speak now, say I will hand it over.
Don't say bring up you, say bring up the topic.
And don't say go over to the document, say go over the document.
And that is how you avoid those traps. But how does real spoken English compare to what you learned in school? Let's check out textbook versus real life.
Welcome to Textbook versus Real Life. Textbook English is 100% understandable, so don't be hard on yourself if you use it, but we want you to sound totally natural.
Exactly. Here is our first one. The textbook sentence is, the project is late. The real-life expression is, the project is pushed back. Pushed back sounds much softer and less angry than saying something is late.
That is so true. Number 2. The textbook says, I lost my focus. The real-life phrase is, I lost my train of thought. This everyday idiom paints a fun picture of your ideas moving along a track.
I love that one. Number 3. The textbook says, we have no more time left. The real-life version is, we are running out of time. This shows the action is happening right now and keeps the team moving.
Number 4. The textbook says, I will stop your story. Real life says, I am going to cut you off. Cut you off is the most common way native speakers explain this at work.
And our final one, number 5. The textbook says, let us finish the meeting. Real life says, let's wrap things up. Wrap things up feels so friendly and casual.
All right, you have heard us talk enough today. It is time to build that muscle memory. Let's jump right into the shadowing practice.
Before we start, here is a quick pro tip. Make sure you hit the pause button after you hear each sentence so you can repeat it out loud at your own speed.
Our first sentence today is about sharing tough information. You can use this when you need to gently introduce a difficult subject at work. Listen and repeat. I hate to bring this up.
I hate to bring this up.
Moving on to the second one. This is perfect for when you want to softly review a list or a file with your team. Here we go. Let's go over the list.
Let's go over the list.
And our final expression is for ending an activity. Use this when you are ready to finish a long call and log off. Listen and repeat. I need to wrap this up.
I need to wrap this up. Great job today! Let's wrap things up with some final thoughts.
The biggest lesson today is that you do not need big textbook words to sound professional at your job. Using simple, casual phrases makes you sound much more confident and friendly to your team.
We know that learning a new language takes a lot of time, and some days will feel really slow, but every single time you show up to practice, you are moving forward. So stay consistent, stay curious, and trust the process.
Please hit the like button right now because it only takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps our channel reach more learners just like you. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast because we bring you brand new episodes every single week.
What is your biggest struggle when you have to speak up in virtual meetings? Share your story and your answers in the comments below.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. Click on the next video on your screen to keep leveling up your everyday English.